Graph using slope-intercept form. A linear equation of the form y equals mx plus b is written in slope-intercept form, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept of the equation's graph. Now, this is information that you would have loved to know last week. Well, just like before, remember when you had to graph the linear equation and they gave you all of these different values, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, you need to graph all 5 of them, and then we found out what? You could graph by making y 0 and making x 0. So your x-intercept and your y-intercept, you could use basically graph the same line as almost as accurately using those two values. Okay, so we went from doing a lot to not so much and still being able to get that straight line. Okay, yeah? It should be a simpler way of doing a simpler way, yeah. Okay, so y equals mx plus b is the formula that is in slope-intercept form. Okay, now where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. So if you have to put a formula into slope-intercept form, really not much to it because you've already done that where you've solved equations for y. Remember that? You solved equations for y before? Okay. So it really shouldn't be that huge of a deal. So if that is what we're saying, and you see an equation, y equals 5x minus 3, can you identify the slope? What is the slope in that particular equation? Raven. 5 is your slope, which means a what? A rise of 5 and a run of what? And then your y-intercept, Mark, -3. Very good. So your line will cross the y-axis at a -3. Well, let's just see. Okay. So if I graph at 0, -3, right? If I plug it in 0 there, give me another point. How about 1? 5 minus 3 is 2. Give me these 2 points. Let's just see. Okay. Because you're telling me that this graph is gonna cross at -3. So 0, -3, and 1, 2. Okay. What else is it that you can tell me? I mean, that's the line of this graph. Simple as that. Done. It has a slope of what? What's the slope? Mark. 5. Does that look like a slope of 5? Pretty steep? Absolutely. Absolutely. Pretty steep slope. Okay. We said a rise of 5 and a run of 1. We said slope 5 over 1, right? 5. Remember slope? Rise over run. So let's go from point to point. Did it rise 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And did it run 1? 1 place over? Yeah. Rise over run. You see that, Marlia? Mark, yeah? Raven? Yes? Okay. 3x minus 3y is equal to 12. What has to be done first before I can determine the slope and determine the y-intercept? Marlia. Yeah, solve for y. Okay? Get y by itself. So what was the first thing that you recommend that we do? Careful. Okay, you want to go that route? That's totally fine. She says since this is a negative 3y, I get rid of it over here by adding it to both sides. Okay, so now what can I do with the 12? If it's a positive 12, subtract it. Bring it back over this way. And there's my 3y. Are we done? What has to be done now? Kate, to get y by itself. Okay, 3 divided by 3? 1, all right? So x minus what? What's 12 divided by 3? So x minus 4 is equal to y. Or, okay. So what's our slope? What's our slope? What value is in front of x? What value is in front of x? Okay. In front of x. 1. So we have a slope of 1. And what's our y-intercept, Marlia? The slope is found in this equation right there. The value right in front of x. That's where the slope is. So what's the value right in front of x here? It's a 1. Right? It's a 1. That's y. Isn't 1x the same as x? Okay. It's not 0. If it were 0x, it wouldn't exist. Yeah. Yeah. Should we do first? Mark. Good. So let's do a 4y, and then I'll have a what? Or, right, because you said, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but that's what that is, right? You said subtract x from both sides. So if I subtract x from 6, that's what I have. But I would probably rearrange it. This x is negative, that 6 is positive. Just housekeeping, right? Okay. Are we done? No, we need to divide both sides by 4. Y is by itself. Now here's where it gets just a tad tricky. It worked out well before because everything was divisible by like the 3 or whatever it was, right? So this is a 1. Negative 1x divided by 4. I'm just going to make negative 1/4 x. Negative 1 on top, or 1 on top, 4 on the bottom. It doesn't matter if this negative is on top, this negative is on the bottom. The whole thing is just negative. Now a 6 and a 4. Divisible by anything? Can I 2? Both even? Plus 3/2. 3/2 is equal to 1 and 1.5. So your slope is what? Your y-intercept is what, Mark? Yep. I would say, in this case especially, since we are trying to find, I mean, essentially that's what it is. But if we want that number in front, put it in that form. Okay? So if you put this here, that'll help you. Like if, sometimes we don't need it, but Raven. What other way? 6 minus x? Sure can. Subtract 4y from both sides. And then I'm going to have x here, right? And I'm going to have a negative 4y. Let's take care of the 6 right away by doing what? Good. So is that what you had? X minus 6 is equal to negative 4y. If you're going to subtract it, and then you subtract this positive 6, that's what you'll have. Now we could go and take a look and say, okay, still work out with the negative 1/4 x, because then positive divided by negative, right? It's still going to make it negative. And then negative divided by negative is going to give you positive. Okay, so you'd still end up with now look at my equation. What is it that I need to do? Okay. Now, you've got options. What I need you to do is I need you to think through your options before you just do something. Okay? You have two options here. What are your two options to start with? Because you've got two terms on this side. You could either subtract 4x from both sides, or I could add what? Okay. What's going to be the benefit of adding y as opposed to subtracting 4x? Right. So what did you do? So if we would just kind of think this through a little bit and try to find out the best path, that may help us. Plus, not only that, but I think it just gives you a better overall understanding of the problem. You're not robots. You can reason through your options and try to pick the option that you think is going to be an easier road than another. Because if I look at this, Kate, and I say, all right, I'm going to add y to both sides. Here's what I have. What's the benefit? Is my y is positive. That's what I want. Now can I clean it up from here? I've got a positive 3 and a positive y. If I want to get y by itself, let's get rid of this positive 3. How? So 4x minus 3 is equal to my y. Y by itself? Yeah. So now I just have to identify what's my slope. 4. What's my y-intercept? Negative 3. Okay. So if you just try to just take a step back from the problem before you just jump in, because if you pick the option that's more difficult, that's when you get flustered, and that's when you're like, oh, I'm confused, I don't know what's going on. Was it that hard when we picked the other option? Because you know equations, right? You know you have to do opposite, right? So don't lose your confidence on the stuff that you should know. Okay? The only thing different today than what we've done in the past, see this green, it's not even really a marker, is it? It's not really even a pen. It's just like a piece of plastic, because it doesn't write on paper. Anyway, the only thing different today is what? That we haven't done yet? Is that how I took this and I put a box around each of these values and labeled one as slope and labeled the other as y-intercept. That's the only thing that we haven't done already. You could do that, right? You could take this and it's the only thing that's different. Okay? It's the only thing. Try another one. 3x minus 6y equals 9. All right. Couple options. Kate, what's the best option here? Subtract 3x or add 6y? Wonderful. So 3x, what am I going to do with this positive 9, Kate? Outstanding. Now, divide both sides by. Okay, that'll give me a y over here. 3 over 6 is what? Half what? Good. 9 and 6 both have 1 in common. 3. How many 3's up top? How many on the bottom? Okay, that's fine. If you want to simplify, then I just make this a negative 1.5 equals y. Your slope is then what? Half. Your y-intercept? Oh, you did it, right? You know how to ride a bike? Do you know how to ride a bike? Yeah. So once you got it, do you all of a sudden just fall off? I hope not. It's like if you get it and you get when you get one of these right, especially one like that, it's the process. So you shouldn't just like totally flip when you see something. Oh, it's okay. It'll be okay. Like this one. All right, Raven. Let's add that 12 to both sides so it looks like something we've done already. Happy? Good. Then. Now, why'd you add 3x this time? Good. And you didn't want the negative, right? Good thinking. 4y is now equal to, can we switch these around? So that's a positive 3x, that's a positive 12. Good, right? Good. Now what? Gone, y. 3, good. And then 12 over 4. Which is what? Slope. Slope. 3/4. Y-intercept. Positive 3. Right? Good. So you had it. You just have to have a little bit of